Hello beauties. So today I wanted to talk about palettes. So Younique has 3 different eyeshadow palettes. Some people are hesitant to purchase an entire palette because they're worried that they might only use 1 or 2 or 3 of the colors on a daily basis, and they don't want to, shell out that much money if they're not going to get to use every color in the palette. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the different uses of different colors so that you can get the most out of your palette. And our palettes are really beautiful. We have very vivid pigmented colors. And depending on how you use them, you can make them very bold or you can make them softer. This is the Moonstruck Addiction 3 palette, which is a little bit more on the warm side. But all the palettes have a mix of matte and shimmer colors. So you have to sort of be a little bit experimental and go a little bit out of your comfort zone so that you can try some different things and get more uses out of your palettes. But I think palettes are great because you are purchasing, in our case, 7 colors that are designed to work well together. So you are going to be able to blend them together. You're going to be able to mix them together. And they all go with each other. So it kind of takes the guesswork out of purchasing separate colors and deciding how you're going to work it together and what it's going to go with. Okay, so I really like them, and I have, I'm in the process of getting the first palette, but I have Moonstruck Addiction palettes 2 and 3, and I really like them both. So 2 is a smoky palette, which has a little bit of warm, a little bit of cool in it. So I would say this is definitely a neutral palette that would go with any eye color. It is geared towards the smokier side, but you could still use it for everyday looks. I do. I really like those colors. And then there's the 3. So this has some purples, some pinks, and this is definitely on the warmer side. I don't really subscribe to the idea that you need to do warm colors if you are of a warm skin tone or cool colors if you have a cool skin tone. I really think that you can do whatever you want. I think with foundation, you should do what best matches your skin and goes well with, your coloring, absolutely. But when it comes to eyeshadows, there's not a rule, you just have to wear what you're comfortable with, what you think looks pretty with your eyes and whatever. So when it comes to these palettes, I have used every color in both of the palettes. And I know that I play with makeup a lot, so you might think that, obviously I would do that. But I just wanted to tell you about a couple different ways you could use some of the colors so that if you do decide to purchase a palette, which is a good idea, because they're beautiful and the colors are great, just so you can get the best use out of all of these colors, and you'll probably fall in love with more of the colors than you anticipated, especially if you know some different things you can do with them. I do tend to lead my recommendations towards hooded or mature eyes because I have hooded eyes, and as you age, not necessarily mature, but as you age, your eyelids will start to, droop a little bit in this area, and you typically have to adjust the way that you apply eyeshadow so that you can just flatter your eyes in a better way. Again, I'm not the makeup police. I'm not going to yell at you. Do whatever you love to do. But I'm just sharing some things that I have learned that I really think help flatter mature and hooded eyes, and obviously work on everyone else's eyes. They just particularly help those of us with a different shape. Okay, so I'm going to use both of the palettes to refer to just so I can try to cover all the bases. So the first thing is the lighter shimmery shades. So in this palette, this is the second palette. In this palette, we have Hopeless, Romantic, and Blissful, which are all shimmery light shades. So they would be perfect to put just on the mobile lid, which will be the bottom part of your eyelid, okay, below your crease. They would be perfect to put there. And they are also a good idea, as long as they're light, to use as an inner corner highlight. So you could use a small tipped brush. I think this, I would probably say this one, the crease brush. So it doesn't look small when it's all the way up here. It looks pretty huge. Anyways, you could use this. Oh, I need to get out more. You can use this on the inner corner. So you could dip it into Romantic and then put it right on the inside right here, and then a little bit more on sort of the tear duct below here, and it just sort of brightens up your eye look a little bit. Okay, I know my lighting isn't awesome, but that's a lot of the ways that people use the lighter shimmery shades. is to do that, to sort of brighten up your eye, open up your eye, especially if you feel like your eyes are dark and smaller. This would be a good thing to do. And again, all over your lid, any of these colors. I wouldn't do these as a brow bone highlight, just because my personal preference, I think sometimes it looks too done up and too dramatic. If you want a dramatic look, then this is what you should do, is to use one of the shimmery shades under your brow. Personally, I think I like to go for more like elegant, softer looks, and I think it looks better when you use a matte light color for underneath the brow bone. But again, to each their own. Okay, next. Okay, so this is the same idea. I would say the same thing with Smitten and Flippant in the 3 palette. They are shimmery, they are lighter. So I would say eyelids or inner corner highlight would be the best place for these colors. Now the matte colors, and you hear me say these names all the time because they're my favorites if you watch my videos. I love Determined in the 3 palette, which is like a beigey taupe. And then a slightly darker version of that is Honorable in the 2 palette. I love those colors because they are perfect to put in your crease. So no matter what crazy color I might choose to put on my eyelid, I soften it and make it look just a little bit more natural, and I blend it out a little bit by putting Determined or Honorable in the crease. And I did that earlier when I used one of the pigments, Precocious, and it's like a really cool like indigo shade, but I didn't want it to look too dramatic and too stark, so I blended with Honorable in the crease, and I just had Precocious on my lid. And it's just a way to sort of soften it up and still get to use a bold color without looking really dramatic. Okay, next, the darker shimmer shades are also good for the lid. So in the 3 palette, we have Ecstatic, which is like a goldish lead. Maybe that's not a good description. It's definitely like a dark gold color. And then Cheeky is a dark purple color. And then in the 2 palette, I would say Perplexed is like a gray slate. I love these descriptive words. Because I'm an English teacher, shimmery color. So what I would do is I would use the liner brush and I would dip that into these, and it won't be a very stark line because it's still a shadow, so it's still going to be pretty soft, but I would use them as liners. If you don't feel like doing them on your lid, if you don't want something that dark on your lid and you have like a lighter shimmer color, I would dip into Cheeky or Perplexed or Ecstatic, and I would do that as a liner. That would be really cool to have like a shimmery eyeliner, but because it's a shadow, it's soft. And if you use the eyeshadow primer, it's going to help it to stay, it's going to help it to not transfer, and it's going to help it to be very vivid. So it's still going to be a very bright color. Okay, and again, this is for any eye shape to use these shimmery tones. And I would also do this with the dark matte colors. So the Peppy and Irate are both black or really dark gray matte colors. So I would also use them as a softer look. Some people think eyeliner can be too stark. They don't want to use it every day. You could use a dark eyeshadow. You could also use Cocky. Okay, so you could, again, just dip it into a liner brush, you know, softly, and just go along your eyelash, along your lash line, and just kind of push it in. And if you feel like it is too stark, you can always smudge with your finger. I know I do that a lot. Or with a brush, softly, okay, to get a softer look if you feel like it's too stark. Also, I use Cocky and Peppy and the darker matte colors in the outer corner, like they call it the outer V here, or the outer C, depending, whatever you want to do, and lightly because they are very pigmented. And I'll do one right now. I will do Cocky, so I just have a little bit on the tip of my finger, and I would go right into this outer area. So, okay, so that way I'm not getting full-on dark brown, right? So it's not intimidating and it's not looking too wild, but I can soften it up with a brush. But I am getting a line, and it is best to put these lines on the outer corner of your eye, okay? And it just sort of intensifies the look of your crease, okay? And it just darkens up that outer corner. So here I have it, here I do not, Okay, and again, you can build it up. Always start out with a little and then build in a little bit more. Another thing that you could do is to mix two colors, and you can mix them either in here or on your brush or on your finger, whichever you choose to apply with. Like if you had tried Flippant and you thought it was pretty, but you wanted it a little bit darker, but not quite as dark as Cheeky, then you could just mix them, you know, and put them both on that way. So you can always combine colors. So I could imagine in the 2 palette, I really like Honorable, but there are definitely times where I want something a little bit darker, but I can't do like the super dark brown on my entire lid, like if that's not the look I'm going for. And then I would mix them. I would start out with Honorable, and then I would just put a little bit of Cocky on top and then just kind of mix it in, you know, and smooth it across. And that's when using a brush is really helpful because it doesn't pick up as much product and it's easier to sort of blend on lightly. So thank you guys so much for watching our little, you know, palette play here, and let me know if you have any requests, if there's a particular palette that you like and you would like to see, since I'm going to be getting one soon. If you want to request down below to see a couple of looks done with one palette in particular, I will definitely do that. So please comment one of the colors or just let me know if this was helpful or if there's anything else you would like to see. So thank you so much for watching, guys.